My fellow trenders, all the official representative, and all the Japan guests in front of the camera, welcome. Welcome to this beautiful afternoon, and welcome to Trend Micro Forum this afternoon. My name is Catherine Liu, and it's definitely my pleasure to welcome all of you to the following hour. Combating COVID, no matter where you are, business sector, private sector, public sector, that's all we want to talk about these days. We want to learn more how does it impact, maybe economically, culturally, with government, different sectors, but most importantly, we want to know how does it impact us in terms of work model, how do we collect data, and most importantly, how do we protect these data to the next new norm. So today, definitely my honor and my privilege to welcome the best of the best, Audrey Tang, our first and foremost Digital Minister of Taiwan. I realize there are a lot of Japanese government officials watching this online webinar, trying to learn more from your experience. And also the most beautiful CEO from Trend Micro, Eva Chang. Would you guys say hi to the audience and also to the webinar, to the webcam, so that all the audience can see that will be our guest today. Definitely.
So much of your brain is from, not because you're from government, it's because of this open source.
Okay, I've been told that in Japan, they are right now very interested in develop their own digital ministry. So today, for the following 45 minutes, we're gonna definitely learn from the best of the best. But before we dive into this session, I wanna talk about DevOps, which is an application system in which Trend Micro used it so well and level up, and right now it became one of the most valuable brand 2020. Definitely Taiwan's pride. So who else is better to talk about this subject? Right now, I want to invite STOC Committee Senior Project Manager DJ Lin to come on to the stage and talk about how he developed this whole program and make it work. Let's welcome.
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Dezheng Lin. You can call me DJ. I'm a project manager and the primary UX designer of Trend Micro's Star Trek program last year. And this program was initiated by Trend Micro's Stantor on the Cloud Committee to accelerate the company's DevOps transformation. Today is my privilege to share a brief overview of this program with you on behalf of the committee. Trend Micro officially began its DevOps transformation back in 2019. Eva Chen, our CEO, set up the STOC committee to provide support and guidance for the Taiwan office. At the very beginning, Eva emphasized that now is the best time to seize the opportunity and embrace the change. She also made something else clear. DevOps is a culture, not a process. We need to begin the transformation immediately to help with customer success. Through a series of trainings, workshops, and study groups organized in 2019, Trend Micro started to become aware of DevOps. Just as the momentum started to build, however, the COVID-19 pandemic began spreading across the world. As a global company, Trend Micro had to deal with the consequences. However, the virus cannot stop Trend Micro from continuing the transformation. In fact, the Star Trek program expanded globally, inspiring everyone involved to put what they had learned into action. Let me explain how the Star Trek program works. It was conceived as a space adventure game that would help players build DevOps skills that lead to customer success. Each team receives a spaceship for making the journey. DevOps practices become weapons that players use to equip their own spaceship and trade with other teams. The teams also fought against the DevOps monster to show what they had learned. The Star Trek program had 3 objectives: mindset changes, engineering excellence, and the transformation visibility. We want everyone to focus on customer success rather than product success. We also want to emphasize and enhance our product development process by sharing good engineering practices. Finally, we want to identify what needed to improve during the transformation. The voyage to customer success identifies 13 DevOps knowledge areas. Over 1,000 trainers participated, forming 93 different teams. By the end of the program, we had collected 438 DevOps practices. That total is more than 10 times greater than any previous year on record. The program helped many of the participating teams deliver better products and service more frequently. As a result, our customer got more effective protection against the computer viruses and other online threats. Here you can see the 6 winning teams. All of them developed DevOps mindsets and clearly demonstrate engineering excellence. The Star Trek program achieved this result. For mindset changes, the program inspires 37 product teams to effectively apply hypothesis-driven development to their project. For engineering excellence, the program developed a detailed set of DevOps engineering guidance and include 50 good engineering practices. For transformation visibility, the program provides methods for 80 product teams to evaluate their DevOps mindset and also their engineering capability. Star Trek was definitely one of the most effective programs in Trend Micro's history. Although the major activity of the Star Trek program wrapped up last month, Trend Micro's transformation process has not yet come to an end. We have pledged to continue moving ahead with the transformation, and will do our best to serve as a platform for a safer world. Now you know the fundamentals of the Star Trek program. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. You talk about gamification. That's very important, very interesting. And also the methods to increase engagement from different workers and create a new working model. I personally found it very, very interesting. So to develop this concept more, right now, let's give them a round of warm applause. Let's welcome today's our panelists on the stage. Digital Minister of Taiwan, Audrey Tang, and Eva Chen, CEO of Trend Micro. All right, so I will only have 20 minutes with you two. And then the next 25 minutes will be QA sessions for everyone who has a personal, no, not personal, working, sorry, questions for Audrey or Eva. Can use Slido to raise your questions, and then Audrey and Eva will personally answer your questions. All right, so first, let's dig more into the concept and the actual force of DevOps. I understand it has its challenges, its opportunities, and Trend Micro uses it very, very well. In terms of specific details, Eva, can you share some of the stellar experience or stellar team that you've observed?
Okay, actually, DevOps, the most important thing is that you need to have a quick response and correct response to customer requests. Right? That's the most important spirit. But no matter what platform, what technology you use, that's the end goal you want to achieve. Right? And I think in the past 1 year that Trend Micro went through this journey of we transform ourselves from a software release. Usually, software company, we have like 18 months release cycle. You will finish one version, you throw it over to the salespeople, and then bye-bye. The developer don't know what's going on in customer side. But this year, we really embrace this DevOps, and a lot of our products, including like our TrendX engine, which is using AI in real time. We can know which file from customer's environment is possible of causing damage. Or we have this very famous virus buster check, which is in Taiwan, we call it 防诈达人. That, thank you, Audrey, for helping that group and posting the recommendation.
Business Weekly.
Yeah.
Just Business Weekly. Just that.
Yeah, and so those are the important things that we learned, that using DevOps, you can get closer to customer and respond. And in our cybersecurity business, most important thing, give timely protection for our customers. Right?
I see. Audrey, from your response, I can tell that you're very aware of this DevOps concept and method, right?
I used to be an agile coach, so yes, well, still am within the government.
And then did you see their work, their hard work in putting all this into application throughout the past years?
Yeah, definitely. I think the intrapreneurship, right, the kind of work that I'm doing within the cabinet, as well as the virus buster team was doing within Trend Micro, has the same spirit, right? A small team of people recognize a new emerging need. People understand this is not just about spam and virus in emails, but also in end-to-end encrypted channels such as Line, which is also popular in Japan, right? And without sacrificing security or privacy, we discovered the need that if people respond to the misinformation, the conspiracy theory, the scams, and so on through volunteer participation, this is what we call 众人之事众人助之, or everyone's business with everyone's help. And so this collective intelligence informed our response strategy and pivoted into a pretty good product, the virus buster in Trend Micro's case.
I see. Yes,
I'm
of
sorry,
course. Eva, go ahead.
I'm also the fan, so I want to
I understand. Go
Please
ahead.
do,
Go
please
ahead.
do.
see, our question is that what is the challenge of DevOps process, right? And even within our company, we are a private company, and we should be able to control everything. But
right.
the biggest challenge is data silo.
That's right.
Each department has their own data, and it's very hard to connect all this data. But I imagine that in government agency, this bureaucracy and data silo might be like,
Of course.
So how did you overcome that? And for instance, the mask, within such a short time, you come up with the mask map. And how did you do that?
Yeah.
How did you break that silo?
That's right. So a very interesting approach that we take is so-called open government approach. In Mandarin, you call it 开门造车, which is very difficult to translate. To build a car behind open doors, maybe. Right. So the idea, very simply put, is not to connect those silos arbitrarily, but rather ask those silos, is there a way for you to publish the data as soon as you collect the data to the open? So instead of silos exchanging data behind closed doors, they actually exchange data behind open doors. In terms of the mask availability, for example, is the individual pharmacies agreeing to publish the real-time availability data every 30 seconds. Imagine if they send the data back to the NHI and the NHI review it manually and publish every day, then everyone will have to trust the NHI as a third party. However, when the pharmacies agree to publish as soon as they're collected, then it's a participatory accountability, meaning people queuing in line after they see someone swipe their national health card, they can actually see on their phone using maybe 疾管家, a line bot or something, that the availability decreased in real time, so that it decreased by 2 and 2 and 2 initially. Nowadays it's by 10 and 10 and 10. But if it rather increases, people will call 1922 right there, right? So because of this rapid response cycle, this is not about someone integrating those data manually, but rather asking them to publish soon as they collect.
But
Yes, Eva, you pick up the word trust
right.
within this conversation. How do you enhance trust between teams in terms of private sector, and how do you enhance trust between different government sectors? That's I'm very interested too.
I think I want to borrow your word. It's
Yes.
very hard to translate, but it's open door.
That's right.
Right. I think
Mm.
open door probably is the way to build the trust, right? Probably you can illustrate more about this part.
Yeah, definitely. When I joined the cabinet, there is already an open data policy, but I upgraded it into real-time open data and gave it a moniker Open API using the Open API standard. I think it's a Linux Foundation standard 3.0. And because we share the same standard, people come to rely on each other for service delivery. And when people fulfill those service delivery APIs like a contract over time, then people understand what is better if they develop themselves and what is better if they just make sure that everyone can build upon the same API. A case in example, initially the mask availability is in the form of maps, but for people with seeing difficulties, maps is not very friendly. And so line bots, voice assistants, many other ways of doing things, actually more than 140 different ways of doing things started to come. And whenever someone say why there's no American English version, we're like, here's the API, build one. And why there is no indigenous Amis version, build one, right? So basically by saying 你行你来, if you can build, you build it. This is how we ensure that we trust the citizens and the citizens trust us.
Right. But when you do this open door, don't you face a lot of question about the security, the data safety?
Definitely. And because of that, we make a very clear delineation. The national health insurance data is not part of the public internet. It's behind VPN, behind its own network. On the other hand, the public data set, the open data set is on the public internet and also replicated across more than 140 different citizen developers. And in a sense, it's almost like a distributed ledger in the sense that if we modify it, everybody would know, right? And so because of that, trust is much more easily verified when it's replicated across many development groups. But of course, the central operation technology that, of course, is not connected to the public internet.
Right. So I think it's like in security field, we say, if you want to have trust, first you need to start with zero trust.
Definitely.
Zero
Yes.
trust.
Yeah, zero
means
trust.
that you need to verify.
Verify first,
and
then
after
trust.
that you can.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Audrey, you are one of the most high-profile digital minister across Asia, if not across the world. I know you have great publicity in French, German as well. But for government officials from Japan, my next question will be, you've moved so much different digital policy throughout the past four years so far. Which one is the most memorable one for you? And you think it's so meaningful and I did the right decision?
Yeah, I think one of the key decisions that we made, and it's not just me, but also Premier Lai Ching-de, Su Zhencheng, also the Minister of South Portfolio, Lo Bingchen, and Gulasio Daka. But collectively, we made a decision to counter the infodemic, that's the disinformation crisis, that's the conspiracy theories and so on, without administrative takedown. Now, this is actually very unique because mostly in Asia, when people see there's a disinformation crisis, the intuition is to enable the cabinet to be able to take down messages from the public internet so it doesn't spread and so on. This is like a lockdown in pandemic. We're not saying it's not useful, but it does hurt the trustworthiness between the social groups. And it also makes other sort of solutions very difficult to grow. Once you have a lockdown, people just stay at home and there's no way for social organizations to build, right? And so just like lockdowns, we make sure that we counter the infodemic with no takedown by relying on, for example, the third-party fact checkers that Trend Micro works with, right, through the Virus Buster and so on. And so this is like asking people to contribute more, to wear a mask, to wash their hands, to share good hygienic practices and so on, so that it actually reinforces democracy rather that concentrates more power into the administration. And so this, what we call the people public-private partnership model, starting with people, the social sector, the media, the fact checkers, and so on, and moving on to the public sector without taking down from the private sector. I think this is one of the more memorable choices that we made.
Excellent.
This is excellent. That deserves a round of applause.
Yeah. I think this is the attitude that's one of the, at least one of the big reasons that Taiwan is like immune from the whole world.
Yeah, and it's so important for the whole world to get this message.
Right.
Eva, as a company leader and CEO, how do you lead Trend Micro to combat COVID throughout 2020? Because as far as I know, you guys level up when everybody is taking a huge hit.
Yeah, actually, I must say, I always say we are lucky because we are totally relying on digital. We are a global company, so we rely on digital communication a lot. So when COVID-19 happened and we all need to work from home, actually it's less challenging for Trend Micro. But I must say one thing that is really impressive, which is our Philippine operation center. They were the call centers. Call centers usually is like a bunch of people need to sit there receiving the calls, right? And Philippines don't have very good infrastructure. But within 3 days, our whole 1,000 support people take their computer from office back to home, set it up, and answer. During all this 1 year, they all work from home. Our customer satisfaction did not drop at all. So I think that is probably, like you say, they trust. I believe the power is in those people. They feel they have a mission. They believe they are doing something that is important. When, during the COVID-19, immediately within one month, we see 260% increase in spills, phishing email.
That's right.
Just all these bad guys trying to utilize this opportunity to grab the money, right? So we all very angry about those bad guys. And that's the sheer mission that we have that I think enable people to do the right thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, since we have limited time, my final question, since we're on safety issues and data privacy, I think it's so important when we into the new norm for the following years, I suppose. So both from your experience from public sector and your experience from private sector, what's government's role in this and what's your vision about enhance the whole Taiwan, especially data protection, data privacy, and as a company, you provide solution to the whole world. What's your vision and what's your the next step vision throughout the whole space?
Sure. So what we will do definitely is in order to make sure that privacy is designed into all the government digital services, we have published, for example, the Government Digital Service Guidelines, or the GDSG, as well as working with, for example, the European Union on the GDPR adequacy. And that will definitely enhance the protection and the kind of psychological safety, not just the cybersecurity safety, which is, of course, the foundation, but also the secure by default arrangement, so that when people feel that their privacy may be compromised, there is a reliable way to get what really is happening to the people. I think I will use one example in consumer right protection. In Taiwan, when you buy something over an e-commerce shop, you're entitled to 7 or 10 or 14 days of trial period. And if you don't like what's being delivered to your house, you can just repackage it and send it back and get a refund. Now, this is protected by the Consumer Protection Council, and people understand generally that if a website says that by clicking this by default, you forfeit the chance to try for 7 days or 10 days or whatever, that's actually null and void. It doesn't mean anything. You can still return that because it's protected by law. And if there's any tensions arise from this kind of labeling, people know that they can call the consumer protection officials, the 消保官 system, that then will fight for them to get a fair treatment and so on. So we need a very similar arrangement for privacy protection, for personal data protection, and that is what we are now focusing on.
I see. It's clear. Yeah. Eva, I have a statistic here. For the past year, Trend Micro has become $1,006 million company. That is a world-leading brand. And as I suppose, safety data and safety garden, it's such a cold thing and technical thing. How do you transfer into a warm brand and provide solution to the whole world? And moving forward, what's your vision?
I think for cybersecurity company, the most important brand is trust. And I kept on saying that for 33 years now, since we founded the company, we do nothing but cybersecurity, right? And so customer trust us. I think the business model is very important. If one hand is selling data and one hand is trying to do data security, that's not trustworthy, right? So I think that sometimes I call Trend Micro a very single-minded company. We just very persistently doing cybersecurity. But I'd like to mention something about post COVID-19 security. I think this pandemic actually accelerated the digital transformation in a lot of sectors, right? So many people, no matter it's work from home, study from home, or the smart factory, or even smart cars, smart construction infrastructure, all of this is accelerating into the digital platform. But what it means to security is it widens the, we call it attack surface. There's so many places that the attacker can attack. They can attack from the home office into the enterprise. They can attack from the say smart meter, right? The smart grid, smart meter, and then attack the country's infrastructure. So there's a lot more that we need to do to protect this widened attack surface and correlate all this data, like you mentioned. Sometimes we need to understand how is the traffic normal data, right? We get it from government. What is the traffic pattern? Then we can analyze that somebody is hacking that traffic light to making a different pattern, right? So I think it's a very important thing for cybersecurity and working with the government sector, because we think our specialty is cybersecurity. Government has a lot of these citizenships data and citizens infrastructure, and these data interchange and collect, like you say, people, private, public, all combined together.
That's right. Yeah. Our president Tsai Ing-wen has a saying that cybersecurity is a matter of national security, 自安机关, for precisely this point.
Right.
Thank you for sharing. My time is up, and right now it's open floor. If you guys want to raise your questions, do we have the QR code here so people can scan through Slido? Right now, if you have any questions that you would like to raise, Audrey here has this iPad, so if you raise any questions to Slido, and also Eva can see some of the questions.
To see the QR code, click the hamburger on the top left side, please. 再按左上角那3条线，然后再按 presentation mode.
Please use a phone and scan the QR code here. If you have questions to raise, right now is the perfect timing.
Presentation mode 在最左下角那边，然后第一行的第2个小字。
唐凤私人教室时间，赶快把握，非常难得。
No, because they're putting up this for us to see, and so I was just asking them to share it in presentation mode.
找到了。 All right, so we're now waiting for them.
Here you go.
Okay. Right now, please, if you have questions, okay, let's give them some time
Okay,
to type.
this is what we call 趁乱告白.
The first question is to Audrey. 好喜欢爱惜的路?
Okay,
All right. Audrey, I know your style is you will pick the question and you will answer, right? Because
Yeah.
it's more 洗发精.
Right. That's right. So yes, I like you all. Thank you so much. And
I'm sorry, Trend Micro cannot control the question.
that's right. That's right. I use the green vines, 绿藤生机, for my hair product.
厂商在哪里?
But for body wash, I use 茶籽糖. Okay.
茶籽糖. 有媒体在这里. From all online audience, they're asking what shampoo does Audrey use? All right.
All right.
可以
There's
帮
more
她唱个生
serious
日快乐
question
歌
now.
吗? Whose birthday today?
Are
Okay.
you famous for singing?
No, not really.
Karaoke?
Not really. Yeah. Okay. Right. So there's a more serious question. Can we get that?
Let's go to that.
Okay. Right. So there's a question that says in many countries there is a mistrust between the citizens, the industry, and the government. How does Taiwan get everyone trusting each other?
Wow,
So
good question.
the key is the government need to trust the citizen first, and then the citizen may trust back. But yeah, may or may not, right? It's beyond us, right? But how? What do I mean by trusting a citizen? There's the most important two things. The first is to publish the data as soon as we have the data, to make sure that there is no time lag between the data collection to the state and the data publication, so that everybody can verify what really is happening. The other thing is accountability. It's very hard to translate in Mandarin, so I usually translate it to 给出交代, right? To be able to account for something. So for example, when mask rationing first started to roll out, there's a social innovation that displays the real-time map, right? But there's also another social innovation from pharmacies to hand out those 号码牌, take a number system. Now, these two individually are very good innovation, but taken together, this is like Mentos plus Coca-Cola. It explodes because for the pharmacy that hand out those numbers at the morning and asking you to take the mask at the evening, it looks on the map like it sells nothing for a while. And during lunch breaks, it sells everything, right? And so the numbers stop being accurate. And so when we discovered this issue on February the 6th, the first thing the CECC, the Central Epidemic Command Center, and yours truly did is to apologize. Is to say, sorry, we didn't think of this. And to the pharmacist saying, whatever you're doing is right, we support you. And whatever we were doing wrong, we will fix it next Thursday. And so we started at the time establishing an iteration cycle that's weekly. And so everybody come to realize that all the rules, all the regulations, all the algorithms and so on are up to patch welcome, right? Everyone can send new ideas to the CECC. So the very next week, we fixed that by having the opening hour split into two different data fields, one for collecting number and one for collecting mask. And then a week afterward, we invented ways to, for example, to disappear from the map, right? If the pharmacy hands out all the numbers, they can just press the button and disappear from the map and so on. So after 3 or 4 iterations, then we start to do a pivoting on pre-ordering and things like that. And so at any time, people understand that it's not their fault to come up with social innovation. It's always our fault. And our commander Chen Shizhuang has a great way of saying it, which is 委员教教我们嘛, right? Legislator teach us. And so whenever anyone want to offer anything, we just turn those complaints into co-creation the very next Thursday by providing accountability, and that's the key.
Yeah, I just want to say in this sentence, you speak everything about DevOps culture. Because I think that the most difficult thing for engineer or for any person is to admit I am wrong.
That's right.
And always, a lot of time, we will say, customer, how come you're so stupid? How do you use
It works
the
for
product
me.
this
It
way?
works for me, right?
Right, it's not my fault, it's your fault. So I think in your process, the first most important thing you say, it's my fault. Okay, and I will try to understand why this is not fitting your way. And it's next week, I will
We'll
change.
fix it next Thursday. Yeah, every time we fix it next Thursday.
Right, so I think it's perfect. Your description just is the DevOps mentality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, right now we cannot see the screen here, but give you guys a little bit time so we can see all the question above. I see there's a very important one. Can we go back a little bit?
There's one called,
Yes.
So there's one that says, do you think there are still areas that we can improve on how we deal with misinformation, the so-called fake news that is still apparent in the society? Yes, definitely. I think in the long run, misinformation really is just a symptom. And the root cause is that people are still in a mindset of being readers, consumers, viewers of radio and television. Now that there's nothing wrong with that because it was born in the age of mass media. But nowadays in Taiwan, broadband is a human right. No matter where you are in Taiwan, you get 10 megabits per second and bidirectionally at just less than $500 per month. And because of that, everyone is media. Everyone produces media. And because of that, we are not teaching media literacy only anymore. We're now teaching media competence, meaning that we understand the primary schoolers, my grandma, and so on. Everyone are media producers, and everyone need to understand their social responsibility as a media producer to balance their data sources, their information sources, to participate more in fact-checking and things like that. So when we see a lot of middle schoolers and so on fact-checking our 3 presidential candidates a year ago during their platform debates and so on, I'm very excited by that because that means that those primary schoolers are not just listeners of media, they are now actively participating in newsroom. So that's the one thing I think we can do.
Eva, just the same question. Do you think there are still areas we can improve in terms of how to deal with cybersecurity?
Oh, there's so many things that we can we can improve in cybersecurity. But at least one thing,
Yes.
as long as your president don't spread fake news.
Oh,
Our president don't. The middle schoolers fact check all 3 candidates and she doesn't do that.
President somewhere. Okay.
okay. The next question, I saw one that's a little bit above. I think that's so interesting, a little bit political. AWS stopped Polar due to some reason, political reasons. And do you think, Audrey, I think it's a great question. Do you think Taiwan's infrastructure use cloud solutions from other countries might be a risk?
Yeah, for example, our National Center for High-Speed Computation, that's the entire stack down to the metal is within our territory. And we also make sure that, of course, we still work with other cloud provider solutions on reusing the open source components, but we always make sure that those open source components are understood and deployed domestically. And really, that's the only responsible way of doing public service, because when we build public service on third-party infrastructure, and if they go down, they have their own SLA. They are not accountable to the taxpayers. So for the truly important parts of digital service and so on, we always make sure that those cloud infrastructure providers are domestic, or at least have a domestic presence, and can have the SLA agreements that is in response to the digital service actual need, and also is subject to the same cybersecurity standards as the competent authority, the ministries or agencies contracting out those services. I think really that's the only responsible action.
Right, and from a cybersecurity experts, I would say, actually, it's impossible that you want to say it's totally safe. You want to stop all the risk. So actually, the most important thing for any organization is to assume that you will have a breach, and then prepare your risk mitigation.
To be resilient.
Right,
Yes.
to be resilient, so you can react fast and limit your damage. That is even more important.
Audrey, do you want to pick the next question that you would love to respond?
So the next question is, how do you motivate people to have a shared vision towards the same urgency with really cute dogs? In the Taiwan counter-pandemic playbook, which is the SARS playbook, we noted in 2003, the main difficulty in communication was that there's no centrally identifiable, trustworthy communication source initially. In 2003, the municipal government, the central government, the media were all saying very different things. And so the Central Epidemic Command Center currently works with the Ministry of Health and Welfare's Participation Officer, or PO. There's a team of people within each ministry in charge of engaging the public. And the MOHWPO actually lives with a very cute dog. The name is called Zongchai. It's a Shiba Inu. And this cute dog become this official spokesdog of the entire CECC communication strategy. For example, we would say to keep social distance, the physical distancing, indoor, keep 3 Shiba Inus away, outdoor, 2 Shiba Inus away, otherwise wear a mask. And the dog very cutely put a foot to its mouth in a picture that says, wear a mask to avoid 下刀吃手手. How do I translate that? to avoid putting your hand to your mouth, I guess. Right? So a mask protect your own face against your own hands. Now, that's a message very much worth spreading. And anyone who has seen this cute dog will virally share this message so that people understand wearing a mask is a matter of personal protection. This is not just about, or even it's not primarily about respecting the elderly or respecting the frontline workers or respecting each other, which is all very good and well, but people don't tend to share that kind of message. So cute dog sharing a message that appeals to rational self-interest, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, actually, Trend Micro also have a famous dog.
Yeah?
That's right. Yeah, the virus buster is also a very cute dog.
It's a dog.
That's right. So you see, cute dog.
Cute dog works. Audrey, I've been in media industry for the past 10 years, and I think using Taichen, this is such a phenomenal and good decision. But before the decision being made, how do you know it's gonna work? Why it's not a bird? Why it's not a cartoon or mermaid? How do you decide on this?
Well, it just so happens that the participation officer lives with a Shiba Inu instead of with a mermaid. I don't know any official that lives with a mermaid, but anyway, so it's cheaper actually because they don't have to pay Shutterstock or pay Disney or things like that, right? They just go back home because they live very close to the main building of the ministry. So whenever there's a new like physical distancing rule and things like that, the PO just walks back home, take new picture of the dog and post it on social media. And so saves a bunch of licensing fees.
For Japanese government officials, they might have to choose a different animal. Otherwise, it will cause confusions, I think.
I don't know. I mean, we have a dog in Trend Micro. There's a dog in 眼球中央电视台, right? The 神兽柚子, right? There's multiple Shiba Inus in Taiwanese media, and they coexist happily.
Let's move to the next question.
Yeah, sure. Right. So yes, the next one says, this morning in our cabinet meeting, we have decided that we will first pass a specific act for digital identity card before rolling out the digital identity card. And this is very interesting because to me, it shows that the cybersecurity awareness and privacy awareness has really grown during the year of the pandemic. Previously, there's not even 500,000 people downloading the National Health Insurance app, the 健康存折. But now it's, I think, more than 5 million, 6 million, something like that. It's actually the most popular app in both Google Play and App Store in Taiwan for the past whole year. And because of that, people understood now more about how to check for the lawful use of their national health insurance card, how to check the diagnosis from the hospitals and clinics they visit, how to even download the X-rays directly from the app, and so on. And so naturally, the expectation to the national ID card has risen because of this experience. So I think it's a really good thing. I think we do have a duty to make an act that's at least as secure and as privacy preserving as the national health card before we roll out the ID.
But you must need to have a lot of courage to stop a project like that, right?
That's right. So this is why we call in Mandarin here, we call pivot 轴转, right? So first you have a shared vision, you have a shared value, and that's your 轴, right? That's your pillar. And then you can rotate alongside this pillar. And we can say, yeah, our main pillar is to make sure that everyone feels safe, that cybersecurity and privacy is preserved. And that's our 轴, that's our pillar. And then we rotate saying, okay, nowadays people are saying this must be at least as secure as the national health card. And so we just do that, right? So this is, again, a pivot, much like how we tell the pharmacist, hey, you have it right, we got it wrong, and we will remedy that next Thursday.
Right. And exactly. And I'm a basketball fan, and I used to use this example. I always say, when you get the basketball, 你不可以两脚动.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
You can only have one leg.
That's right. That's right.
That's what you say.
That's right. That's right.
One
Exactly.
leg is on your mission, on
That's
your
right.
vision. But
That's right.
how do you find the right direction?
Right. A
You need to
mission-oriented
kick your
pivot.
flag.
Yeah.
A mission-oriented
Good
pivot.
metaphor.
That's
Right.
exactly right.
All right, the next question is so interesting. I want to focus on this a little bit more.
Okay.
So the government is looking for cybersecurity
PhD in
expert,
cybersecurity.
PhD. Would you ever consider to work directly with
We
Trend
are
Micro?
working with Trend Micro.
I think you can just collaborate with us and
Yes.
don't try to recruit my
That's
engineer.
Okay, I'm not in a HR function here. But more seriously, I think there needs to be cybersecurity expertise in all levels of the agency,
Yes.
not just the one or two doctors who are, of course, very important to safeguard the agency. But equally important is that every level of officials need to understand that cybersecurity is not just about something that you pay attention to after something bad happens.
Yes.
It needs to be designed upfront. You need to invite this white hat thinking, red teaming, and things like that, even before you roll out your first digital service. And so I think equally important is the competence of all levels of officials. And in Taiwan, we thank Trend Micro for showing what truly contributions from the white hat community could be to the national security. And we are now looking to promote more of that, especially to young people, right?
Yes.
There's AIS3 from the Ministry of Education, and we're looking to expand that even more so that the parents will feel safe if their child says, hey, I'm going to be a white hat hacker, and the parents will not panic. That is also very important.
Got it. All right,
Yeah.
our time is up. And thank you so much for the question that you've raised. I think Audrey is online all the time. If you do have so many questions, maybe you can find a way to talk to her directly. All right. I've been told they have 5 minutes. So maybe one more question?
Wow,
Okay, one more
yay.
question. Okay.
One more question.
Right. So the last question is actually a complex one. Masaya-san would like to know, there are digital transformation failures in Japan over the last few years. How does the Taiwanese government help companies secure their digital transformation? I would not comment on the first sentence, but the second part of it, I think it's by making sure that our failure modes are public. That is to say, to fail fast and loudly. In Taiwan, for example, the mask rationing example, we actually had a prototype that people didn't see that was using mobile payment instead of the national health card that's initially at convenience stores. And we didn't roll it out, especially early on, because we understood that people trust the pharmacists more. And we also know that only around half of the population understand how to use mobile payments. And so if we roll it out as the first version, then we will not get 3/4 of the population getting access to mask and washing their hands properly because they heard it from their trusted pharmacists, right? And so we kind of deliberately let the first version fail because we understand that we need to serve a higher purpose. And later on, when we introduce pre-ordering at a convenience store, again, the first prototype is actually using automated teller machines or ATMs, where you can insert your bank card or post office card and type in passwords and wire 52 NT dollars and get this QR code that you can then redeem the mask on the same store next week. But we didn't roll it out again ATM because of the feedback, especially from the elderly population, told us that they're very wary to enter their password to the ATM. They would think that someone, right, because it says that this counter scam sticker 165 is on the ATM all the time.
Right,
They're
right.
very afraid that
Right.
they will just wire out their entire saving just to buy some
Right.
mask, right? And so because of that, we pivoted again and say instead using the national health card and pay cash, like literally coins at the desk. The convenience stores didn't really like that because it's very unlikely for them to impulse buy something when you pay by cash. But on the other hand, this really secured the psychological safety for the elderly people and so on. So we didn't hide the two failed prototypes from the society, from the population. Instead, we talk about these failure modes all the time. We share whatever we have thought of and how we didn't implement something. And that, I think, lead by example in the way of digital transformation, that people would then think about digital transformation as something that really saves time, improves quality, and also builds trust, instead of just chasing some shiny new technologies at the expense of trust and so on.
It's so refreshing to hear from a highly technical savvy person from government say that don't just think about the shining technology,
That's right.
think about the customer's feeling, right? You talk about these older people's feel of safe. That is so refreshing to hear. And I think that's the lesson probably all of us should learn. It's too much time, we technology people just feel like the newest shining technology is good, but how to implement it,
That's right.
it's all about the users, right?
Thank you, Eva, for wrapping this up, and thank you guys for sharing. And this is definitely the time's up. Would you two please stand up and come with me,
Hey.
because Trend Micro has prepared a little
Why?
gift. Come with me a little bit so that they can present the gifts, and they put a lot of thoughts into the gifts, and that is going to Audrey here. So later on, we will be having a group pictures. Thank you guys for participating in Trend Micro Master Forum. And right now, let's present this gift here. And thank you guys from Japan. That's the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for your participation.